Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have an interview that many of you have been waiting for. Before we get into it though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It's absolutely free. Click the like button, and please leave a comment. All of these things truly do help, and they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get into this long-awaited interview. Shall we? All right, guys, today I have a very special guest, a guest that many of you have been waiting to hear from, and one that I was very worried about. Victor, how are you?
I'm doing good now, thank you.
It's great hearing your voice. It was wonderful getting that call the other day. When I heard your voice, there was nothing but shock.
Well, I went back to work, like I told you, and I'm not working in the office. I'm back as only a hunter. And I got put out in Montana, and I was there for about, before Thanksgiving till just the other day when I called you.
Right.
So I stayed busy out there.
Yeah. And it was funny because I just started doing live streams and people, Victor, and like I told you, and I had made the statement. I said, guys, I don't know. I said, I have messaged him on Thanksgiving. I wished him a day late Christmas. I try to check on him on every holiday and nothing. I'm like, unfortunately, the only thing I can assume is possibly he passed. And that's why when you called, I was like, whoa, it was a great relief and happiness all in the same sense. People were very excited when I had mentioned that I had talked to you. And so yeah, it's been fun to know that you're at least alive and that you are doing what you do still. Now, I don't know how much you can share with us anymore or not, so if there is things that you can't talk about, just let me know. Okay. You are hunting again? You are not?
Yes, that's all I am.
Okay. You're not your rank was lowered, I guess?
Yeah. Yes, it was, where I could work under the man that took my place. I had to be a lower rank than he was.
Okay.
So I took the step down with the same pay that I got as a general, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I spent all that time out there, hunted 7 dogmen and 3 werewolves, and they're still calling the dogmen in, but the ones that won't return is what I do.
Okay.
I go out after.
Yep. Now, I had asked you about the werewolves when we had talked, and I was like, were they rogue or chipped, and I think you had said they weren't chipped, or were they chipped?
No, they was not chipped.
Okay.
They was all wild.
And that's a rarity that you come across, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Most of them, I would think there's a whole lot more of them chipped than there is wild.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming on that at this time.
Yeah. Now, the Dogmen that you were tracking, I'm assuming were nuisance killing livestock and stuff like that?
Well, they was, but they was, 5 of them was chipped, 2 wasn't.
Okay.
But the 5 that was chipped was following the other 2. So, it was, and I had to kill them one at a time.
Yeah.
Couldn't catch them all together, or 2 of them together, or anything. But
I don't know if I ever asked you this about the chip. I know we've talked about it extensively, but I don't know if I ever asked. The chips, they are in the neck region. Can they be removed? Have you ever seen like a Dogman work together to get the chips out?
it's possible for them to get them out. I would say that more of them's lost in a fight than there is removed by themselves.
Okay.
So, I know the population of chipped ones has went from somewhere around 74,000 to 30,000. That's not came in, or they hadn't called them yet.
Okay. All right.
But that ain't accounting for the wild ones.
Right. All right. When you got that call to go hunt these down, had they messed with farm animals, or were they just?
Yes, they was a nuisance also. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't just because they hadn't came in, but they had killed several head of cattle, one horse, and the horse they just killed. They didn't even eat on it.
Can see, yeah.
Yep,
that's
just
like
an act of killing.
Yeah, that's a lot like with the Meeker, Colorado thing, with the cattle there when they were being killed. There was no consumption, and there was multiple of them. It was like a kill sport, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that's anything that you had looked into. You were in Montana at that time, but I know that you've not listened to the channel because you've not had the opportunity to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a strange one, you know. Rancher reaches out to me during the news of these cattle being slaughtered, and then all of a sudden he sees this team come in, and the next thing you know, the cattle slaughtering has stopped. So
yeah, well, sounds like they done a good thing.
I agree.
But there's several more out there for me to hunt yet, and be heading to New Mexico next.
Okay.
So,
are Sasquatches still an issue, or not so much as?
Not so much now. I don't know if we eliminated them enough to where they won't mess with anybody now, or what. But
right.
It's been. I was looking on the computer, and it's been Thanksgiving or before.
Okay.
Since something happened with them.
Yeah. And they're equivalently just as smart as the werewolf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Them two run neck and neck in smarts.
Right. Yeah, I've said it lately. I try to warn people that these animals, these creatures are not friendly. They're not our friends. The gifting, I've seen, people talk about gifting these things, and that's dangerous.
That's bad, dangerous. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever? I'm sorry.
You ever start feeding them, and they won't leave?
Mm-hmm.
They'll expect it from you, and if you don't have it to put out, they'll come after you. Now, the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, he probably won't, but the other two will. And it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah. Have you had any old cases like that where you had to deal with anything like that? A family feeding, just gifting, these things, Sasquatch or whatever, maybe werewolf mistaken for Sasquatch, gifting, and then any families being attacked during that time?
Yeah, I had one case that I know of, and came out of Arkansas.
Okay.
And this lady lived by herself in a cabin, and she was putting a pan of meat out every night for us. She said a stray dog. And game warden had went out there because he heard she was feeding it.
Mm-hmm.
And he seen the prints, and he called in on it. And I went out there and talked to her and everything. And sure enough, every night she would set that pan of scraps out there on the front porch. And it'd come right up there and eat. And take them scraps. And it, for the most part, left her alone till she started running low on money and couldn't put food out there.
Yeah.
And it came in her house. Knocked the front door off the hinges. And it got her. But they was supposed to have been feeding it for about 1.5 years. So went out to the cabin, and I cut up a big old ham and put it down, and I got up in my tree position and where I could see good, turned the lights on her front porch because she said she always left lights on for it. And it came in the second night, and I put a round through its neck and took it down. But, I'd been out there that one time to see her and talk to her. And back then I was working under somebody, and they called me back.
Yeah.
And then the next 2 weeks I wasn't there. And we heard that she had been killed, and I got sent back out there. So,
wow. Was she killed right in her home? It attacked her in the home, and did it drag her body out of the home, or just left it right there? Left it right there? Okay.
Left it right there. Door was gone. They could easily get in and out till somebody found her. And she was upstairs.
Wow.
So,
that reminds me of Luke's story where, and people thought that was so far-fetched that, he had upset a Dogman enough to where it actually broke into his home and tracked him to his second floor bedroom. And, it just shows how intelligent these creatures really are. With a sense of, being able to smell, hear, see better than humans, on top of having intelligence, is dangerous.
Yeah. It is. Very.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with the reason they done it and made them. Because they worked out really good in Vietnam.
Right.
And, but when they was promised their freedom, once they did a assignment, they split.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to clarify, you didn't, when you said made them, you meant chipped them. You didn't mean, yeah. Just to clarify for people so that they
was chipped. Was.
You know, I have that Big 3 file that person made. I sent it to you a while ago. That person made on the Bigfoot Dogman werewolf. And it has never left my pegboard.
It's still up there.
Yeah. That's really crazy that, you know, and then did she heed your warning or did she continue to feed?
No, she continued to feed as long as she had it.
Right.
And I believe it was a game warden that stated she told him that she had to quit feeding it because she couldn't afford it anymore. And that was 3 or 4 days before death.
Jeez. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's tragic. And I almost wonder if she had heeded your warning, if the same result would have turned, you know, because it's almost like it would have, you know, and unfortunately you got called back.
I think it'd been too long her feeding it for it to come out any different, really.
Yeah.
I just wished it had showed up while I was there the first time.
Yep.
But no show. It's almost like it knew I was there.
Yeah. You've had plenty of times that has happened.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just a quick brush over this, if you don't mind.
Okay.
The incident that just occurred, I had talked to you about, and when you first started coming on the show, you had reached out to me because you wanted people to know the truth of what was going on. You were afraid that these things would eventually be used against citizens. And to me, I've had a lot of people on the show lately that have talked about homeless people in California being attacked and stuff like that. And based on what you shared a long time ago, and based on, you know, people not being blind, wonder if they're being used now on the undesirables. And I'm wondering if it's not just now, because if you think back in history, there were many attacks in the Appalachian regions when mining was going on and people were being attacked, and it wasn't talked about like it is now because the news and we have internet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just, for me, I think that these things are being used secretively. And I know you probably can't answer that, and, you know, I respect that, but I know where your heart is, and the majority of the people who know and listen know where your heart is. So it's just, to me, it's dangerous to have these things lurking around our country.
Well, I agree. They go rogue. They take lives out. The Bigfoots hadn't been bothering anybody for about 4 or 5 months now.
Right.
Hadn't had the first attack. But on the Dogman, seems like theirs is on the increase. And as far as it going after the homeless people and undesirables, that's very possible.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position where I can say for sure because I'm not in control of it anymore.
Right.
And but it's highly possible that could go on, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was going on like that.
Yeah. No. And like you said with Bigfoot, 4 months, you hear a lot of times with Bigfoot attacks and encounters and stuff that, it's more or less they just want to get away, or if they're pushed too hard is when they will attack. It's very rare that they do go bonkers on something, lack of a better word. But with Dogman, it's almost like these things are fueled with just bloodlust.
Yeah. They don't have a rhyme or reason to them. I don't know why they continued chipping when they did.
Yeah.
And turning them loose, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And now the werewolves, we get rogue ones on them, but not near. It's probably 25 to 1. No, it's higher than that. It's probably 75 to 1 that we get on Dogman's versus the werewolf one. And it's even rarer on the Bigfoot.
Okay. Yeah, it's almost like the intelligence factor stops them from, really going all out. Yes, Dogman is intelligent, but there's something lacking in that.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Yeah. One of your, the other day I did a live stream, and we had about almost 300 people in the live stream at the time, and someone had brought up mermen, and then another person had brought up that day that you had talked about that creature with the kind of blade-like forearms that you had chased through the aquatic creature. What are your views on those kind of creatures? Have you had any or heard of, even though I know you're not in charge of anything anymore, but have you heard of any kind of human contact with these things?
Not since I did the one that had the blade-like arms.
Yeah.
There hadn't been one on the computer that showed up.
Okay.
And I look at it about every 2 or 3 days. You look back and see what all's been called in and everything. But I hadn't seen anything. This was before Thanksgiving though. There was supposed to be another spider-like creature.
Really?
Down in Texas, but they sent 2 or 3 people down there and they never made contact.
Okay. Yeah. So, ironically enough, that was brought up in the same live stream as well. We were talking about rock apes and stuff, because on the live stream it's not formatted. It's just kind of, just
open mic.
Yeah, just a BS session. And someone had mentioned large spider-like creatures being spotted in Vietnam, and then it was brought up with the spider creature that I believe it was New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that you had a run-in with.
Yeah, that's right.
I think there was one just within the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, one spotted in Canada somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had read it. Somewhere online, I had read large spider-like creature spotted in Canada, and unfortunately Canada doesn't have access to you guys. So
yeah, that's still in place.
Yeah.
They'll take calls and give them help over the phone, but that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. There was an interesting article that a subscriber brought up a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, to me, in regards to a teacher being rescued and by SEAL team. And I guess the teacher, in her own words, and it reminded me of one of your incidences that you had to go through. It said, in her own words, she's blindfolded, she's a prisoner being held captive by whoever, and she said, I heard a bang, and I heard what sounded like wild animals running through the building or area she was housed in, killing along with gunfire, but it didn't sound like human. There's a big difference in werewolf and human foot running through. She said wild animals just, and then when her mask was pulled off, it was SEAL team people that rescued her. But for some reason, that wild animal thing just popped out at me, and it popped out at that subscriber who sent me the article too.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me so much of what you had shared with us, and really just, to me, only validates you even more. So,
yeah. I think that if they're going to use them in the U.S., they need to turn them on to cocaine dealers and murderers and people like that. Just turn them loose on them. Let them have them.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So, my personal opinion.
Yeah. Or, after they're done doing that, put them in a cargo pod and drop them at like where the Boko Haram or, ISIS or something, and just let them, deal with our issues, just send our issue. We do it with everything else, so why not do it with that,
Yeah, that's right. And they could. They're very capable of that.
Yeah.
There was a story that my dad told me about Vietnam.
Okay.
That they put one in one of them underground facilities that the Viet Cong had. They had two openings, one to go in, one to come out. And it went in one end, and 36 minutes later came out the other end, and it had killed 400 people. But it was men, women, children, everything. And it popped out on the other end and didn't slow down for the handlers, never even looked back at them. So they're capable of doing some major damage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Because they were, a lot of people don't realize that in Vietnam there were tunnels that were, so deep that they were housing families and little villages underground.
That's right.
It wasn't just a tunnel. There was rooms and sections, and there was a lot. They were very intricate, things down there.
Yeah, that was very.
And something a tunnel rat could not take care of.
No, a tunnel rat would never made it through this.
No.
But I guess when it broke open into them rooms, it just came out, stood up, and went to doing it what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Blood rage. I'm honestly 100% convinced as of lately. The more I look into these things and read people's encounters or talk to people, that the Dogman is just full of rage. And you hear the werewolf experiences where, you know, there is no tail seen. It's very similar to where to Bigfoot, you know, you push them in a corner and they're going to attack. They more or less want to get away. Livestock is one thing, you know, food is, you know, I can see a werewolf or Bigfoot attacking food or livestock, if food like deer and stuff is not prevalent in the area, but Dogman will just do it for fun, just to do it. Yeah.
You know, and I think there's a lot of misidentification between the Bigfoot and werewolf. They're both flat-faced, and you know, it don't have a tail like the Dogman.
Yeah.
And you know, they grow. Some of them grow to the same size. Sebastian, he was huge.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just. I think there's a lot of misidentification.
Yeah. People need to look for, you know, if it's a Bigfoot, it's got a conical head.
Yep.
With no ears, because the werewolf does have ears.
That's right.
That's the only real giveaway.
Yeah, because they're just as muscular, probably not as thick as a Bigfoot, but you know, they're pretty hefty.
Yeah. I was reading somewhere the other day. It was just a theory, and someone had said where was it? I think it was on like a Bigfoot site or something. I was just skimming through, and a guy had said, I'm wondering if Dogmen are a variation of Bigfoot, but then I was like, nah, they're something of their own, but a werewolf I could see being a variation just because of the intelligence, the features being so similar, and this and that. That made more sense to me than a Dogman, because a Dogman is just a completely different creature.
Yeah, totally.
So I had Laura Eisenhower on a while back, President Ike's great-granddaughter, and we talked about dumbs for a little bit, and a couple of things, and I had brought up crawlers to her. She didn't know the term, and then after the recorded conversation, I had showed her a picture of a crawler, and I had said, you know, what do you think about these things coming out of Dulce, out of Nightmare Hall, and stuff like that? Have you heard any recent run-ins with these creatures as of late? You know, like hunter to hunter, whatever.
I'm looking real quick to see if I got anything under crawlers. August 2021 is the newest one.
Really?
Yeah. The Bureau's been invited to.
Okay. Yeah, they are definitely something bizarre. Something is truly not right with them. I'm looking for someone that possibly may know information about Nightmare Hall and the creations because we only hear a little bit about what came out of there when those troops went in and they saw a lot of really bad things, very strange things. But to me, if they're doing, you know, things like that to women and turning them into breeding, pretty much breeding cows is how they were described, they could create monsters. if they could do that. And I'm almost wondering what kind of monsters they created down there.
That'd be a good question. I'm not really familiar with it.
Yeah.
So I decline to comment on that.
Yeah. Yep. So, besides that, what's your plans? You got to go to New Mexico and do some work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be out there about a month, probably.
No,
but I'll have my phone with me this time.
Dogman, Bigfoot?
Dogman.
Dogman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unbelievable about the Dogman just being obsessed with. I don't even know anymore. I can't. To me, they need to be eradicated. I just.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. I don't know how we'll ever get rid of all the wild ones, but.
No, you'd have to really have.
You'd have to have a bigger portion what we got.
Yeah. And it's almost like they don't want to get rid of them too. They want to almost self-contain. Keep very limited amounts, but keep them, going and just in case.
Well, that's true. They could honestly do that because they got the facilities to do it with.
Mm-hmm.
They could probably house 10,000
in the facility that you worked out of back in the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm at the same location. I mean, I went in there the other day. When I started back and went by Sebastian's age and looked in to see what they had, and they had one in there that's over 9 foot, 9'2".
Really?
850 pounds.
They're still breeding them?
Werewolves.
Okay.
They got a good thing there, except when they go rogue.
Right, absolutely. That I can see keeping to a low population, not a extravagant, double digit, or 5 digit, 20, 30,000 is a little high, maybe 10 to keep.
Way more than that.
Right.
They're in the 80 or 90,000s now.
Yeah, that's definitely dangerous.
Yeah. Playing with a loaded cannon. If they ain't got somebody that can really control them. The handlers, they're special. Most of them special forces or SEALs or something like that, but they can't control them if they don't want to be controlled.
Right.
And they got their own free mind.
If you don't mind, what is the most bizarre case that you ever dealt with? Like one that just kind of spun your head.
Well, that one in California with the bladed arms.
Yeah.
I'd never seen nothing like that. And then that big spider. That'd probably be the top 2.
Yeah.
And it's just I went on one in Texas that was supposed to be something under the ground that was come up out of the ground and grab a cow and pull it halfway down and would eat off the bottom half. But I never did see what it was. I found 3 cattle that had been done that way, and I almost think it was staged.
Really?
Yeah.
By the ranchers or by?
Well, it was all on Mexican-owned ranches.
Okay.
And I think they staged it just trying to see who would come. Because when we pulled the cattle out of the ground, them cuts looked mighty, mighty slick to be an animal. Or something like that.
Yeah.
And that'd be the top three, and I never seen the third one.
Right. Yeah, that is strange. That, you know, it's almost like they, like you just said, they wanted to see who would come and respond.
Yeah.
Cartel, maybe wanting to see.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Cartel wanting to see what they'd be up against if they'd have to, you know. That's very crazy.
Another good one was huge Sasquatch.
Yes.
Montana and
Idaho,
and came down into Wyoming, into Colorado, and that's where I started on track of that one.
Yeah, that one was very bizarre and terrifying.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, the one experience that I always think about is that one where, you know, that we talked about earlier with the hunter you thought that went rogue and he was killed by a Sasquatch. Yeah,
that was down in Texarkana, Texas, and northern Louisiana, and supposed to have been on Boggy Creek. But he was 25 foot up a tree.
Yeah,
dead, hung between the limbs. And Keith was a good one. He really was. But I finally ended up getting that one.
Yeah.
Shot him in the back of the neck. But we was gonna bury him, and we did bury him, and then called in, and they wanted him back at the lab, so we had to dig him up again, and then we had to get some more men and drag him out where they could pick him up with a helicopter.
Yeah.
Cargo net.
Yeah, that hunt reminded me of the San Bernardino hunt a little bit, just because of how everything worked, and with the kind of being deep out in the woods and everything, and just things went bad real fast.
Yeah, made him out to be a hero, and that wasn't so, but
yeah,
I didn't want his name smeared.
Nope. So do you have what are your plans for the future? Do you have plans on just what? Here's the question: why did you go back?
Why did I?
Yeah.
They called me, and he told me that they was having problems, that some of the men wasn't trained hardly as well as they needed to be, and wanted to bring me back to help train, and then I got sent to Montana.
Okay.
By myself.
So is it like when the military, like when you're an officer, and that you sign that, work where you're done, but if they ever call you, you got to go? Is it kind of like that?
No, when they called me, I volunteered to go back.
Okay.
So, no, once you retire, you can be done with it.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like, because like a lot of officers in World War II, when they were done, they thought they were done, and then Korea came and they had to come back and train.
They had to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it ain't like that.
Okay.
I mean, I figure I'll be 63 in April, and I'm going to try to make it till I'm 65.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it for the money. I mean, money is important, but that ain't the reason I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to help out, get some good people in there, get them trained right. If I ever get to train anybody. And
they'll be a good hunter if you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can get to 65 and not get hurt anymore, or nothing goes wrong with my kidneys again,
Yeah.
I think I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Are you ever, now that you're, getting to that point, are you nervous more so than you were a long time ago?
Yeah, I'm not near as fast as I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
but the intelligence is what you have more so. Your hunting abilities, your tracking ability and everything is what you've got the best of.
Yeah. That part of it I know.
Yeah.
I know what to expect out of these animals. I know how they're going to react. I hope I don't get put on a Bigfoot. I really don't.
Right.
But if I do, I do. I ain't in charge anymore.
Right.
But I asked not to be put on that, and they said they'd keep me on Dogman and occasional werewolf.
Now, why would Bigfoot be your concern?
Well, they are sneakier.
Okay.
They'll hide. They can climb trees really fast. They can swim. If it's after you, you ain't got no place to go.
Right.
I mean, your legs, and if you ain't got a firearm, that's the only thing you got. And I'm just amazed that I hadn't had one in probably when I quit, probably 10, 11, 12 months now. This is probably the last Bigfoot I had. And I was slow on it. I was slow on the giant. And I knowed it. And when I killed it, I got out. But got called back.
All right. Here's we're about 45 minutes in, and I know you're in your office right now, but I got one last question that I kind of want to bring up to you to see if you know anything about it. Once again, I know you don't have the abilities of everything that you did prior to, but maybe I can get your perspective on it.
Okay.
Andrew Dawson, guy in Canada, spots this so-called giant up on a mountain in BC, British Columbia, on Canoe Mountain, I believe. Yeah. And there is something up there that is, I think it's like a tram or something, but there is also another strange building that was put up there during that time as well, that he had spotted this giant. He's got videos of it. It was all over TikTok, and he progressively was sharing more. Eventually, they went up to this area where was public road, and they were stopped, forced to turn around. Then he makes a video saying, "Hey guys, everything all the videos that I made were a lie, just made up." And he keeps looking over to like someone watching him and almost telling him what to say. A couple days later, he makes a video again, and he's very edgy and says those videos were definitely the truth. Everything is the truth. Da 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 da. And later on, he is disappeared and then dead. I was able to locate one of the obituaries, but then I was able to locate the funeral home that his services were held at. Do you think these giants that people are seeing nowadays are a real danger? Do you think something's going on that we don't know about, like some biblical something is up now?
Well, there was giants in the Bible, so I don't much doubt that it could be. They could be creating something. You know, they could have found something and got DNA out of the bone or something.
Right.
And I wouldn't doubt, but what there could be something very much going on. So
yeah.
As far as personal knowledge of it, I don't.
Right.
But
well, like I said, I just wanted to get your perspective on it, you know, because like that one Bigfoot that you hunted was freaking huge. But these creatures that are being seen now, the one in Canada, you saw this thing off in a distance. We're talking miles, you know, and he had his camera zoomed in as tight as it could be. And of course it looked, you know, small at that point, but perspective wise, it was not small. There's some being seen in Mexico, Central America, and a lot of people are just freaked out, you know, especially with the Euphrates draining, and you know, people are just real scared now. So
you know, the Euphrates River, one of the biblical signs that it would dry up.
Yeah.
And it's draining. And I've seen the film of one of the giants in Mexico. But I hadn't, you know, the last thing I hunted besides these was the big giant that I got right before it went into Canada, where it'd be safe.
Right.
And it was headed that way. So it noticed where the home ground is. So if they found something and genetically making these things, crossing them with something possibly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Who's to say?
We have the technology.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's maybe it's not a natural, I guess, you know, natural occurrence biblically would be the thing, but maybe it's the 1% using their money and the technology to create the last of days, you know, to fit their needs. So
yeah,
who knows?
It could be.
Yeah.
Could very well be.
So, well, I want to talk to you for a little bit after, but it was great having you on. I know that I had gotten email after email, like I said to you, and just people reaching out that were excited to hear from you. And I'm glad that we were able to get together and talk. Is there anything that you'd like to say to everybody before we end this?
Well, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And make sure you go out there and enjoy national parks, because chances are you won't see one. And don't be afraid to go to them. Enjoy the woods. And I've told you in the past what to do if you do happen to see one. And it's good being on again. And thank y'all for having me on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you in a few minutes. So it was awesome having you back, and God bless.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everyone. I really want to thank everybody for patiently waiting for this interview. Like I said, I am not in control of what happens to other people's lives. I know many of you had been waiting a couple days ago for the Victor interview. I did say I'd get it for you, and I did. Anytime I say I'm going to do something on this channel, I do. Anytime I believe something is 100% backable, I back it. My main concern right now is the American population, the populace of America, and are we being hunted by these creatures? I believe we are. I believe that the powers that be, that sit in the highest seat of the land, do not care about us, and I believe that the 1% are using any means necessary to get rid of the undesirable. That being myself, and, well, in the 1% eyes, anybody who's not a 1%er. So, anyway, I hope we're not SOL, but maybe if we all unite and stand for the cause, we won't be. We need to keep bringing this to the forefront. Things like this should not go unanswered. What happened in Texas. Be safe, be healthy. May the Great Spirit watch over all of us, and may He guide us down that path that we call life.